Hello race fans and welcome back to the Hungaroring for the second race of the weekend for the Euro Formula Open cars. As you can see, the drivers are already starting to form up on the grid, with Nobuharu Matsushita and Liam Lawson about to take their places at the front row. And here come the last of the drivers finishing their reconnaissance laps. There is Yuki Tsunoda, who's going to be lining up from 4th place on the grid in his Team Motorpark entry. And just as yesterday, the Motorpark drivers looking very, very competitive indeed, very quick in qualifying, and they certainly have the power of numbers. However, they have been kept off pole position by one of their rivals from another team. Yesterday, it was Lucas Dunner in the Teo Martin car. Today, it is Formula 2 hotshot Nobuharu Matsushita, fresh from his victory 1 week ago at the Red Bull Ring, where, incidentally, the Euro Formula Open drivers will be heading to next week. Taking pole position on his arrival in the championship for Carlin with an excellent lap time. He was briefly under investigation by the stewards for potentially having violated the championship's rules on how drivers can warm their tyres up. However, Matsushita has been confirmed in his pole position, and so he will make that start from the right-hand side of your screen, and there he is. So Nobuharu Matsushita for Carlin, lining up from 1st place on the grid. He's had excellent pace all weekend. He looked very quick yesterday, but of course, not being a regular in the championship, when he qualified down towards the back of the grid, he decided that his time would be best spent doing a bit of preparation work for today's race, and that clearly paid off in qualifying this morning. There is Liam Lawson, one of 3 Red Bull-backed drivers on the grid. He starts from 2nd place on the front row, looking for his 3rd victory of the season and trying to trim the championship advantage of this man, Marino Sato, who starts from 3rd position. Yesterday's race winner. And alongside him, fellow Japanese driver Yuki Tsunoda. So we have a trio of Japanese talent inside the top 4. Tsunoda, already a race winner this year, had really good pace in the second half of the race yesterday. Began to apply pressure to Liam Lawson in the closing stages. Well, another driver who had great pace yesterday very clearly was Lucas Dunner, who started from pole position, but of course lost the advantage of pole when the lights went out to Marino Sato and had to follow him home in 2nd place, but was, I think, quite clearly the quicker of the 2 drivers. In fact, Marino Sato admitted as much after the race. Dunner had some really, really great pace and made things very lively indeed. Christian Hahn will start from 6th place. We've just seen him. Javier Gonzalez has qualified well up in 5th place for the RP Motorsport team, the first of their drivers on the grid, and there he is. And then Linus Lundqvist finished in 5th position in yesterday's race, one of several top 5 finishes for the BRDC F3 champion so far this season. He will get away from 8th, ahead of Julian Hanses, who will be looking for a much better result than he did yesterday. The 4th of the Team Motorpark drivers, not quite on the pace of his teammates thus far this weekend. Tangled with Nikolai Kiergaard on the 1st lap of yesterday's race and finished at the back with a penalty. Callum Williams is in 10th place. He is the only Fortec driver on the grid, so he's kind of had it all to do by himself as far as setup work goes this weekend. Starting then in the middle of the field. Tepe Notori, one of the Carlin regulars, qualifies in 11th place. And there he is. He finished 6th yesterday, equaling his best result of the season so far. That's the 3rd time he's finished up in 6th place. Jack Doohan, not qualified quite as well as he did yesterday. He's in 12th position. Yesterday's race didn't go fantastically well for the youngest driver in the championship. He had a tangle down at turn 1, and the back end of the car got away from him. He was facing the wrong way, and that put paid to any hopes he had of scoring points. Rui Andrade has kept the timing officials quite busy with more than a few runs off track during the course of qualifying. Let's take a look back on yesterday's race then. Lucas Dunne on the right-hand side started from pole position, immediately moved across to cover off the threat of Marino Sato, and for the time being appeared to have done so. Jack Doohan made a pretty good getaway from further back, but when they got down to turn 1, Sato, braking on the cleaner side of the track, found excellent traction. Dunne gave him just enough room to keep his nose in, but he regretted that later on because Sato got away into the lead. Meanwhile, that was the collision between Kiergaard and Hanses that led to Hanses receiving a penalty, and then as Christian Hahn and Jack Doohan did battle, then the car snapped away from Doohan and he found himself pointing the wrong way up on the curbs. Sato had a ferocious amount of pressure from Lucas Dunne. He slipped up in the last sector of the lap at one point, and that allowed Dunne to get a really, really good run at him, but he wasn't able to convert it into a move, and he spent the rest of the race following his teammate behind. So we are building up ready for the start of race 2 for the Euro Formula Open drivers. The track is cleared and we're almost ready to start. So the last few personnel make their way clear of the grid. Let's take a rundown of all 18 drivers. Nobuharu Matsushita, the F2 star, is on pole position. Then it's a trio of Team Motorpark drivers. Liam Lawson ahead of Marino Sato and Yuki Tsunoda. Row 3, Lucas Dunne, yesterday's pole sitter and second in the race, still looking for his first win of 2019, starts alongside Christian Hahn. And on row 4, we have Javier Gonzalez qualifying strongly alongside Linus Lundqvist. The drivers are pulling away to begin their formation laps. And further back on row 5, we have Julian Hanses ahead of Callum Williams. Tepe Naturi starts 11th alongside Jack Doohan. Rui Andrade and Aldo Festanti, who was quick in the early part of qualifying, share the 7th row of the grid. Nikolai Kiergaard having a bit of a difficult weekend. Pierre-Louis Chauvet alongside him. And at the back of the grid, Cameron Dass following his switch to Team Motorpark, and Billy Munger, who had a tough race yesterday, and it doesn't look like getting much better so far as he starts from the back of the grid. However, we have seen him make some excellent starts so far this year. Let's see if he's able to do that. And even see a few spots of precipitation on the camera lens, which of course immediately brings to mind the circumstances under which Munger scored that extraordinary victory in the Pau Grand Prix a couple of months ago. It would need, I think, to rain an awful lot to get this track wet, because it is very warm here indeed. Not quite as scorchingly hot as it was yesterday when the sun was beating down on us pretty much without interruption. Today we've had quite a bit more cloud cover at the track. That has kept a bit of a lid on track temperatures that are around about the sort of mid-30s, and the air temperatures a bit cooler as well. So not quite as hot as yesterday, and that I think is why we've seen a little bit of a shake-up in the competitive order. So calling you on this race today, I'm Keith Collentine, joined in the commentary box by Elliot Wood, who's just joined me. And Elliot, Matsushita gets to keep his pole position. Can he now convert that into a win?
He possibly can. The reason I'm late to the commentary box is I've been checking the weather conditions out there. There are definitely drops of rain on the far side of the circuit, but the run to turn 1 is completely dry. So it's going to be very interesting to see, not necessarily what's happening at the very beginning of this race, but the end of the first lap.
Checking the weather conditions, of course, the standard commentator's euphemism for having a second course of pudding. I'm sure that's not the case. So Matsushita leads the field around on their formation lap. The drivers having a little bit of a weave to generate slightly higher temperatures in their tyres. We've got wet weather tyres on standby. I'll be very surprised if we need them, because, as I say, it is pretty warm here, and I think it would have to rain an awful lot for anyone to have to consider that. But nonetheless, we shall see. The drivers are working their way through the final sector of the lap at this 4.3-kilometre Hungaroring, home, of course, of the Hungarian Grand Prix. The Formula One cars will be here in a few weeks' time for the race that's been on the championship since back in 1986, when this circuit was first built, carved into a valley just to the northeast of the Budapest, outside a village called Mogyorod, where the weather conditions are reliably warm for this afternoon's 17-lap race. It'll be 17 laps unless we get a significant safety car interruption, in which case we'll run to a time limit of 35 minutes. But the cars are taking their place on the grid now. And Billy Munger and Cameron Dass there fanning out to form the final row of the grid. So we await the signal for the start of the 8th round of the championship, and the flag is waving. We're about to get racing again at the Hungaroring, and someone, Aldo Festanti, has moved out of position at the back of the grid, but nonetheless we're going to get all 5 lights illuminated and the race begins. Festanti makes his start from a slight getaway, and a bad start for Matsushita. Sato's down the inside. It's a poor start as well for Yuki Tsunoda, so it's all changed immediately at the start.
Both of Motorpark's Red Bull cars have had clutch issues this year, and we saw that once again. Sato takes the lead in turn 1 ahead of fellow Japanese driver Matsushita. I believe that's Lucas Stunner from 5th in the grid and 3rd behind them.
And Christian Hahn's moved up into 4th place. So Lawson, as you say, with the clutch problems as well, has dropped quite a long way back. An absolute disaster for those 2 Motorpark drivers. So it is Marino Sato who leads the field out ahead of Nobuharu Matsushita. Well, we didn't see that one coming again, and once again it's Marino Sato at the head of the field. Lucas Stunner is in 3rd. Javier Gonzalez has moved up into 5th position. Great start by him ahead of Linus Lundqvist. Billy Munger has shot up from 18th to hold 12th position. He's in front of Liam Lawson, and Yuki Tsunoda is down into 17th with just Pierre-Louis Chauvet behind him, although he appears to be making some moves already. That looks like Tsunoda taking Festanti down at the back of the field. But what an absolutely fantastic start to the race for Marino Sato. He may not have qualified on pole position, but he is immediately up at the sharp end. We go on board with Jack Doohan, who's got a bit of a gap to Callum Williams in front of him. That's not Callum Williams in front of him, that's Tepe Naturi. He's overtaken Callum Williams. So that's who we were looking at ahead. So Liam Lawson is trying to find a way past Billy Munger. Billy Munger's trying to find a way past his teammate Nikolai Kiergaard, though.
The twisty nature of this circuit means that because overtaking is so difficult, the field's already compressed. The 2 Red Bull cars are way off the back at turn 1, and they're already challenging for 12th and 13th places. And we see our leaders cross the line for the first time.
And Matsushita, I think, feels like challenging as well. As you say, less than half a second between them, but he hangs in behind Sato for the time being. But Sato, of course, has got a championship to think about, so if Matsushita just feels like showing him the nose, I think Sato's going to have to be very sensible here, particularly with his closest rivals in the championship, his teammates, having had such terrible starts.
And I think Billy Munger in the back of our picture is under threat from Liam Lawson, who's trying to round the outside move. Daniel Ricciardo style in turn 3. We'll hopefully see them come through pitch, and Munger's retain the position.
So let's take a look at the start from the front of the grid again. There's Festanti making one of the best jump starts I've seen since Olivier Griart in 1992. And then once the race did get going, Lawson and Tsunoda, it was as if they just didn't move at all. And everybody else, starting from drivers left on the grid, got away. There's Festanti making his start at about 30 degrees to the racing line. But nonetheless, despite that disadvantage, still easily getting clear of Yuki Tsunoda.
And brilliant spatial awareness from all the drivers there. There were no collisions.
Indeed, with 18 cars on the grid, when you have one stopped or sat at an odd angle, it can easily cause problems. So there's Christian Hahn in 4th place. He's got Javier Gonzalez behind him. Linus Lundqvist is next, and then Tepe Naturi. Now, a little bit further down the order, what's happening with those 2 Red Bull back drivers? Well, Liam Lawson is still working on Billy Munger, but Yuki Tsunoda has risen quickly through the order in the 2 laps that we've had so far. We've got an instant investigation between Liam Lawson and Billy Munger in turn 2. So that might have been what we were seeing at the beginning of that lap. But Tsunoda has quickly got onto the tail of Lawson as they come flashing past us now. Is anyone close enough to try and move heading down in towards turn 1? We've got Linus Lundqvist working over Javier Gonzalez and running a little bit wide at the exit of the corner. But now, for the time being at least, Marino Sato has got himself a little bit of a breather, and Lundqvist thinks about the dive down the inside of Javier Gonzalez, but then thinks better of it as well. He's got Tepe Naturi in very close contention there. And still, those 2 Carlin cars of Kiergaard and Munger with Lawson and Tsunoda close behind them, that is also shaping up to be one of the best fights on the track at the moment.
Not only is Nobuharu Matsushita taking points away from Marino Sato's opposition right now, but his 2 main title rivals, Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda, are outside of the points. This is a huge result for Sato at the moment.
Yeah, commentators' curse notwithstanding, of course. We've still got 15 laps to go, but we saw how good Sato was at clinging on to the lead in yesterday's race under, you have to say, somewhat stronger pressure from Lucas Stunner than he's had from Nobuharu Matsushita thus far, as the sun has come out and heats things up a little bit at the Hungaroring. As we said before, it's not been quite as hot here today, but now it's beginning to look a little bit more like a repeat of yesterday's race. with the sun out there blazing. Now, Marino Sato was the quickest driver the last time around with a 1:37.5, but Lucas Dunne, as we saw yesterday, having taken a few laps to play himself in, is now lapping quite quickly as well, and he goes fastest of all in all three sectors, a 1:37.2. He is 0.8 of a second behind Nobuharu Matsushita. Now, can Dunne get onto the tail of Matsushita and enjoy perhaps a little bit more luck trying to overtake that rival than he did yesterday when he was trying to pass Sato?
Lucas Dunne has put less miles on his tyres than his opposition this weekend, but as we know at the Hungaroring, it's a completely different matter being right behind someone to actually overtaking them.
And at the moment, Liam Lawson has dropped back from the tail of Billy Munger, and Munger, in fact, is applying the pressure to his Carlin teammate Nikolai Kiergaard. Here is a replay of Aldo Festante up the inside.
Cameron Dass, Team Motorsport.
Cameron Dass, yeah.
Little squirt of oversteer then, and both of them just got through the corner fine. The replay continued there. We didn't see what happened
Tiny
next.
little bit of contact, but I think no harm, no foul there. Das remained in front of Festante, so there wasn't a change of position at the end of it. Javier Gonzalez has got a little bit of a gap now over Linus Lundqvist behind him. Lucas Dunne, though, looking menacing, I think, in that third position. Matsushita didn't have a great run through the first sector on this lap, and Dunne has edged a little bit more time away from him in the middle part of the lap. So it's as you say, Elliot, Dunne's got some great pace, but whether he can actually make the move stick is the big question. And Matsushita looked like a little bit twitchy there at the exit of turn 13. And Dunne comes around as they complete the fourth lap of the race in this 17-lap encounter. Sato's got his lead nearly up to a second now. Dunne is within 0.6 of Matsushita, but if yesterday's race is anything to go by, you need that down to something like 0.3 of a second at the line if you can have any chance of making a pass. Yuki Tsunoda's got a bit of a run on Liam Lawson. Having said that, this is the 1-2-3 battle at the sharp end of the field, and Dunne really is stalking Matsushita at the moment. We'll see if that joins together. And here come Billy Munger is down the inside of Nikolai Kiergaard. I think he is making that move for 11th place at the moment as they come into turn 2. Has he got ahead of him? He's out wide though, and Kiergaard has retaken the position, and behind them I think Lawson has managed to hold off Tsunoda for the time being.
That would have been a great move if Munger completed it, but he's already dropped several tenths to Nikolai Kiergaard now, it looks like.
Oh, and a big switch from Billy Munger as he goes into the very quick turn 4, and that's brought Lawson right up onto his tail. Now, does Lawson fancy the big lunge down the inside of turn 6 to chicane? He's going to have to start making some big moves at some point if he's going to come away from today with any points at all. But Munger showing that when you try to make an overtaking move and it doesn't work out, it can easily drop you into the attacking zone of a rival behind. And Munger really scruffy on this lap, actually. He's had a couple of big oversteer twitches wide, and then he ran out very wide at turn 7 on that lap.
He's no doubt got some dirt on his tyres from where he went wide at the start of the lap, and he's
going defensive now on Lawson. So we've got Munger, Lawson and Tsunoda all over each other in this battle for 12th place, and Munger's having to defend on parts of the track where you really don't want to have to be defending. Problem is, these long constant radius corners at the end of the lap of the Hungaroring do make it fairly easy to enter on a tighter line and come out back on the racing line without losing too much time, and so it proves as Munger comes out of the corner with a bit more of a gap restored over Liam Lawson. How close is Lawson? He is fairly close as they come down towards turn 1. Is he going to go for the lunge down the inside? Not this time, but perhaps later. Meanwhile, back up at the front end of the field, Matsushita has found a little bit more performance in the footwell of that Carlin and has pulled a little bit further clear of Dunne. So the immediate threat to Matsushita has alleviated.
And as soon as Lucas Dunne got into the wheel tracks of the two cars in front, he's already dropped several tenths off his previous best times. So with these three going a little slower, we could see maybe Christian Hahn, the second Carlin car, coming into the pit show. He's doing a great job in 4th. I would believe this would be his best result for the season so far.
Yeah, Christian Hahn holding on to that 4th position ahead of Javier Gonzalez, who we look at the moment, and someone's dropped a couple of wheels into the dirt there. Was that Gonzalez or someone in front of him?
Quite possibly somebody in front. It may have well been Lucas Dunne, who did the same thing in qualifying yesterday, denying Marino Sato pole.
So here is our top 3. They've got a 2.7 second gap to Christian Hahn now. And Marino Sato I would say out of the three, once again, Lucas Dunner is more reliably the quick of them, but track position is everything at the Hungaroring, and just as was the case in yesterday's race, Lucas Dunner does not have it. So he's finding himself staring at the back of not one Japanese rival, but two of them today, as they flash past for the 6th time. Marino Sato still ahead of Nobuharu Matsushita and Lucas Dunner. What's going on with that scrap further back in the field between Munga, Lawson and Tsunoda? Munga's got himself a little bit more breathing space over Liam Lawson as they come by this time, so the order remains unchanged. Christian Hahn is having a good run at the moment. He's lapping in a 1:37.7, which is only a 1/10 of a second slower than the pace of this trio in front of him, who all lapped in 1:37.6s the last time around. You do get the feel that they're all dancing to Marino Sato's tune at the moment. They're all queued up behind him and not able to find any obvious way around. So some inspiration is going to be needed if we're going to unblock this jam at the head of the field, and there it is. Christian Hahn, though, not under obvious threat from Javier Gonzalez behind him. And at this point, Elliot, all the drivers who are trying to make up a position are in that familiar situation of being almost locked into the pace of the car in front of them. They get used to braking in the same point. They almost hypnotically start to adopt the turning in points of the cars in front of them, and it's extremely difficult to break out of that and find an overtaking move. Now we've got a ruling on Rui Andrade, who has been dinged for overtaking Cameron Dass off track and told to hand the position back. That is in the battle for 15th and 16th places.
I think one of the other battles we should look at the moment is Javier Gonzalez in 5th, and he's leading the rookie classification, and this will be his first rookie podium. He's heading Linus Lundqvist and Tepe Nattori, both rookies as well, and Lucas Dunner even, I apologise, is just at a fastest lap, a 1:37.1.
And that's partly, I think, because Marino Sato improved by 0.3 of a second on the last lap, and it gave a little bit more space to the drivers behind him, and they all went with him, so they are still locked into Sato's pace.
But almost every single driver set a personal best there, besides Billy Munga and Nikolai Kjærgaard.
Yep, Munga indeed still got Lawson well about a second behind him, so the battle not quite that close at the moment, but it feels like the Kjærgaard and Munga train is beginning to make some progress and catch up to the likes of Callum Williams and Julian Hanses ahead of them. But as yet, no significant changes of position since that dramatic first lap of the race, which really couldn't have gone much worse for Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda, now dropped out of the points completely and facing the prospect of another 25-point loss for Marino Sato, which is going to give him a very, very handsome lead in the championship indeed, with 4 double-header rounds remaining after this one.
With a bit of quick arithmetic, I think it would extend to 83 points for Marino Sato, and that would be over Lucas Dunner now, who would jump up into second in the standings ahead of Liam Lawson, who's currently down in 13th.
So it's looking good for one of the 5 Team Motorpark drivers, Marino Sato.
And we didn't see this on our screens, but Nobuharu Matsushita seems to have cut the chicane. He's got a warning flag. He's had a few warning flags for various reasons this weekend, and Jack Doohan got very wide out the last corner there. Yeah,
I wonder if that's going to help Callum Williams at all. Callum Williams wasn't that close to Jack Doohan, so he's not in a position to be able to take advantage. They have all strung out a little bit at the moment, except really at the front, where Lucas Dunner continues to pile on with some pretty quick lap times. He was just 0.4 of a second behind Nobuharu Matsushita the last time round after doing a 1:37.2. So the big challenge for Dunner now is, can he remain that close behind throughout the rest of this lap and get himself into a position where he could make a run? We've just got the one fairly long straight at the Hungaroring. It measures about 900 metres, and you have to come off the last corner very close to the car in front to have a chance of making the move stick. Now, Nikolai Kjærgaard, and we've got some action between Linus Lundqvist down the inside of Javier Gonzalez, and that moves Lundqvist, I think, up into 5th position. Yes, he's got the place, and also down the inside comes Tepe Nattori. So with that, Gonzalez has lost his grip on the lead of the rookie race, and Linus Lundqvist has taken it away from him. We have got a yellow flag waving at turn 5. I wonder if Gonzalez went off there.
Yeah, and the safety car's now on track, so that may be another incident. I was looking at Lucas Dunner's times. He was side by side with Matsushita, and he's now dropped 4 tenths to him. I don't think it's his car. Cars have definitely slowed down. I think it's Julian Hanses who's slowing down the order. Team Motorpark driver. He was in 10th. So he was occupying the final points position. And he's out of his car looking a bit sad in the bushes.
Well, it has been a pretty desperate weekend for Julian Hanses. He was classified last yesterday after that collision with Nikolai Kiergaard, who, in some kind of poetic justice, moves up into the final points position. There's Jack Doohan running very wide at the last corner. We'll get a look at the onboard camera for him. A little snap of oversteer on the way out of the corner. We have got Javier Gonzalez coming into the pits. So he's going to forfeit. Oh, and there's why he went completely wide at turn 4, lost a big chunk of his front wing. And this was the point at which we joined them, when he was running wide with Linus Lundqvist up the inside of him. So that is how it all came unstuck for Javier Gonzalez, and why he's felt the need to go into the pits as well, because that is going to sacrifice some points for him, and I think promote Billy Munger into 10th position. And the last point as it stands, Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda still outside the points. It is not looking like a good weekend for them at all.
With a safety car, previous times we've seen the safety car this season when Marino Sato has been in front, he's been brilliant on the restarts, but he does have Nobuharu Matsushita behind him, who is a far more experienced driver. He's probably won many a race via safety car interventions, so it'll be very interesting to see what happens on the restart.
Yeah, this is going to be a pressure point then for Marino Sato. I'm sure he'll have the Motorpark team in his ear pointing out that his big championship rivals are outside the points at the moment, so a touch of restraint certainly wouldn't go amiss. However, he will have the inevitable racing driver impulse of always wanting to grab any win that's available, and he is on course here for potentially his 6th of the season and his 4th in a row, which would be quite an achievement indeed. It's been a very competitive championship thus far. We've not seen the kind of domination that we saw from Felipe Drugovich last year. However, you have to say, on the strength of his performances over the last 2 weekends, Marino Sato is beginning to bring back a little bit of a feeling of what last season was like in terms of having one driver at the front running away with things. But to his credit, he has got a really strong field up against him, particularly in the form this weekend with the addition of Nobuharu Matsushita in that 2nd place. But it'll be doubly interesting for me at the restart to see what happens with Lucas Dunham, because it often feels to me that with the safety car rules being the way they are, they place a lot of advantage in the hands of the leading driver. The 2nd place driver can only really react to what the leading driver is doing, and it can put the 3rd place driver in a stronger position. And Lucas Dunham, as we've seen, is very, very quick around here today. So if anyone I think is going to get an advantage at the restart, maybe Matsushita, but I'm going to be keeping a close eye on Lucas Dunham as well.
I think the safety car line, which is where the driver's allowed to start accelerating, is before the final corner here, possibly just after the penultimate one. So if they get a good run behind him going into final corner, they may have the move completed before they even get to turn 1, which is where we'd normally see most overtakes at this very tricky circuit.
Well, they haven't got much longer left to think about it, because the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. We've quickly tidied away Julian Hanses' damaged Motorpark car. We haven't seen exactly how he came to a stop there, but it has brought an end to his race. It's possible that, given where he stopped, he may have had some interaction with the debris from Javier Gonzalez.
Yeah, Rui Andrade's his team manager has been asked to report to race control. He was asked to give a place back to Cameron Dass, which he only just has done, but that request was several laps ago, so that may be what that call to race control is about.
On board with Jack Doohan, who, due to the various adventures ahead of him, has now risen to 7th place and 3rd in the rookie standings. It's been a good season for the rookies so far. We've often seen them up on the podium at the end of the races, but at the moment, there are no rookies inside the top 4, which is a bit uncommon for 2019 in the Euro Formula Open. Linus Lundqvist first among them. Immediately in front of Jack Doohan there was Tepin Tori. And Doohan with Callum Williams behind him. Nikolai Kiergaard in 9th and Billy Munger 10th. So Munger holding on to that last points position. And of course, this is a big opportunity for Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda to break back into the top 10. So Marino Sato backs the field up, and the top 3 drivers really working hard to generate higher front tyre temperatures, ready for the restart. Sato puts his foot down, and Matsushita goes with him very effectively. He's pretty close behind as they come into the final two corners. Lucas Dunner, defying my predictions, has dropped well back from the pair of them. Matsushita may well be close enough to have a little go here as they come around the final corner and complete what will be their 10th lap of the race. 7 laps to go. Matsushita's washed out a little bit as they come around the corner. How close then is he to Sato? They cross the line with 0.4 of a second between them. It's Sato from Matsushita, Dunner, Hahn and Lundqvist as we restart the race. And as we suspected, Matsushita not quite close enough, but Naturi is under big attack from Jack Doohan. He tries to get the cut back at the inside, and Liam Lawson has gone down the inside of Billy Munger. So Lawson is into the final points playing position. Jack Doohan is still applying the pressure to Tepe Naturi. And Munger's coming back at Liam Lawson, down the inside of him at turn 2. Nikolai Kiergaard, his teammate, ahead of him. But Lawson has just managed to prize the position away from Billy Munger. And I can't help but wonder if Munger might have been able to get that place back if he hadn't had his teammates so close in front of him. And Lawson now immediately onto the tail of Kiergaard, who's a bit wide round the very, very quick left-hander at turn 4. So a small bit of damage limitation for Liam Lawson, but it really is quite minor to be just up into that 10th position. Meanwhile, at the start of the field, this has gone about as well as it could have done for Marino Sato. He holds on to that lead, and we add 2 extra laps to the race distance to make up for the safety car. 8 laps to go.
I do think Billy Munger had attempted a move on his teammate Nicola Jargo on the outside. We've got one of the Teo Martin cars. I believe that's Aldo. No, that's Lucas Dunner, actually. Went very wide there. And has he lost the place to Christian Hahn? No, he's still ahead. Hahn was looking very threatening at the restart, but he seems to be under pressure from Linus Lundqvist now, further behind.
And Jack Doohan, having tried and failed to stick a move on Tepe Naturi, has now got Callum Williams filling his mirrors.
Callum Williams did this a lot yesterday, but like many, he just couldn't make the pass stick.
And that is Lucas Dunner taking the extra long line around at the outside of turn 9. So here come our drivers down towards turn 1. Linus Lundqvist having a bit of a speculative look at Christian Hahn. Not quite clear enough to make a pass stick there.
And Marino Sato's advantage after that first lap is 6/10, which is larger than it was after the first lap of this race. So it suggests he's made an even better start. And Billy Munger's defending from Yuki Tsunoda. I think it did look like he was almost sliding down the inside.
Very wide, losing a lot of time there.
They've got Cameron Dass, the 4th motorpark driver behind them. 5th motorpark driver, sorry. Going back to battle at the front, Lucas Dunner's closed in on Nobuharu Matsushita, who, looking at the first sector, Dunner was 4/10 up on the 2 drivers ahead.
Yeah, and all the drivers taking incredibly wide lines at the exit of turn 5 now, almost running out towards where the barrier is on the exit of that corner. And here comes Christian Hahn under immense pressure all of a sudden from Linus Lundqvist, and Tepe Naturi's come with him as well. Naturi looking quite racy now that the safety car has gone in. He seems to have a little bit more pace. We do see this sometimes. Obviously, the safety car comes out, everyone's tyres and brakes cool. We get back up to racing speeds again, and suddenly some drivers are finding their cars a bit better underneath them, and Tepe Naturi looking very combative as he gets onto the tail of Linus Lundqvist.
And one of the cars that isn't having it is Yuki Tsunoda. He's dropped further time to Billy Munger now. And obviously he's not in the points, but his teammate Liam Lawson is, which is very important in the title fight right now. We should see our leaders cross the line for the end of their 13th lap. Sato looks pretty comfortable with a 1-second lead, and half a second between Matsushita and Dunner now. We don't think that's close enough for an overtake.
Yeah, I think Billy Munger was quite wide at the last corner then as they came out to begin that lap. So still got the same order up at the sharp end. And Tepe Naturi inspecting the back of Linus Lundqvist's car. The battle for 2nd and 3rd is looking a little bit more interesting now that Lucas Dunner has picked up the pace once more. But Marino Sato has got even more pace than him at the moment. Went round at a 1:37.6 the last time. Not quite on fastest lap of the race pace so far, about half a second off it. But Sato going strongly, perhaps more strongly now, after the safety car has come in. Meanwhile, we've got Liam Lawson, having moved up into that 10th position, is now within half a second of Nikolai Kiergaard, so that's his next target if he's going to increase his points tally from 1 to 2. And
all cars are being asked to respect track limits. We did see the 2nd and 3rd place cars go wide there. It looked at turn 13 rather than turn 11 rather than turn 12, which is where many of the violations are taking place. But that may be one of the causes why Lucas Dunner has been able to close in on Matsushita towards the end of the lap.
we do seem to be seeing drivers push the track limits a little bit further now that we're this far into the race, this far into the race weekend. Perhaps they're finding a little bit more grip out there than they had before. Lucas Dunne still holding that half-second gap to Nobuharu Matsushita. Dunne has the fastest lap at the moment. Through they come to begin another lap, and it's a very familiar problem for Lucas Dunne in that he is just locked into the pace of the car ahead of him and not looking likely to make a move stick at the moment. He is on course for a second podium finish, but of course he is going to see the championship points gap open up further between him and Marino Sato.
And Julian Hans's Strucken Motorpark car is coming back on top of a trailer, so we may be able to see if there was any damage on that or if it was a mechanical failure.
He was pointing sort of towards the barrier in a way that suggests he might have spun or something, but it's a bit hard to see. Christian Hahn, there he is in fourth position. He's running well, on course for his best finish of the season so far. He's had a fifth place in the second race at Po and the second race at Spa. But this would be a new personal best for him. However, he's going to have to hold off Linus Lundqvist and Tepe Naturi and the rest in order to do it. And Linus Lundqvist, again, is another driver out there who's looking very, very quick, but might need a mistake from the driver in front of him, and that could well be it as Christian Hahn runs quite wide at the exit of turn 9. Lundqvist not immediately close enough to capitalise on that. They come down towards turn 12, which is sometimes an overtaking opportunity if you're very, very close and you can brake deep enough. Lundqvist holds on for the time being and resolves to follow his rival through the last two corners on the track, bring them round towards the start-finish area where he might be able to make a move. Out they come again then. Marino Sato is still leaning comfortably and there's no real change in the gaps immediately behind him, but Christian Hahn's feeling the heat from Linus Lundqvist. He's drifting offline a little bit just to try and break that toe and disrupt the benefit Lundqvist get. Does Lundqvist fancy a look down the inside turn 1? He does. He gives it a big, big look down the inside, brakes very late. Hahn gives him just about enough room to avoid contact. That was neatly done by Christian Hahn and obliges Lundqvist to just tuck in back behind him again. I don't see Lundqvist going for the inside at turn 2, and he hasn't, but he is very much applying the pressure to Christian Hahn now. Meanwhile, further back, I think that Yuki Tsunoda has made his way past Billy Munger. Billy Munger appears to have slipped down into 12th position. And sure enough, there they are. So Tsunoda is now running once again behind Liam Lawson. We did see in yesterday's race, Lawson was quicker as the fuel load started to come down. Sorry, Tsunoda was quicker as the fuel load started to come down. And of course, he was in much the same position in respect of Liam Lawson in yesterday's race, and he was trying to catch his teammate. However, they were doing that for third and fourth positions yesterday. Today, it is a battle for the final points place. Now, there is Lucas Dunne. Nobuharu Matsushita ahead of him, slightly quicker in the middle sector on this lap. Dunne very strong in the first sector of the lap, which is all well and good, but it doesn't lead to anywhere in terms of an overtaking opportunity. It's around the final stage of the lap that the driver really needs to be competitive. Christian Hahn has broken that challenge from Linus Lundqvist. The gap between them has opened up. So as we begin lap 16 with just 3 laps remaining, it is still Marino Sato comfortably ahead and Nobuharu Matsushita holding on to second place.
And Lucas Dunne got very close there to Matsushita through turn 1, but we have seen that practically every lap, and it's the same problem every single time. He just can't get closer after that. Having said that, Dunne does have the freshest tyres of the drivers battling for the win here, so he could make that advantage count at the very end when it matters most.
Of all the drivers you want to be applying pressure to in this race, the super experienced Nobuharu Matsushita, who is more used to racing the somewhat quicker Formula 2 cars, is going to be a tough prospect to break him down. He's holding on to that second place quite happily at the moment. There is Marino Sato and Javier Gonzalez. After that problem early on, we saw him pit for a fresh front wing after damaging it at turn 4. He is up and running again, but down in 16th position. So we keep an eye then on Christian Hahn, who's got himself a little bit of a breather in 4th and has left Linus Lundqvist to be challenged by Tepe Naturi, but that gap has opened up a bit as well. Jack Doohan has fallen well short of that battle now. And behind him then we have Callum Williams, and Nikolai Kiergaard is a little bit racier behind the back of Callum Williams. But they are once again all pretty much locked into these positions, and Marino Sato continues to inexorably tick the laps down as he moves closer and closer to what would be his 6th victory of 2019.
As it stands, this would be Carlin's best result since the Pau Grand Prix. They took a 1-2 with Billy Munger and Nikolai Kiergaard. They currently got Nobuharu Matsushita in 2nd place, and he did actually win a Winter Series race at Paul Ricard this February, I believe. That doesn't count for this main championship. And Christian Hahn, the 2nd Carlin driver, in 4th. He's looking pretty comfortable there, and he's ahead of the rookie battle between Linus Lundqvist, Tepe Notori and Jack Doohan, which is very fierce still. The drivers come through turn 4, which is where a lot of the track limit stuff has been. You can see a lot of the rubber offline, which has made some drivers slide out a little too far for the steward's liking today.
Yeah, and Lucas Dunner, I think, was all 4 wheels well fully over the curb that time around. And Christian Hahn gets the power down as he comes out of the chicane for the penultimate time and continues to press on in pursuit of that 4th position, ahead of Linus Lundqvist and Tepe Notori. But as we are on the penultimate lap at the Hungaroring, it is still looking fairly static at the moment. The drivers looking reasonably settled into their positions, and only now I think a late mistake or some kind of fatigue-induced error might bring about a change in the positions as we move towards the end of this race. But Christian Hahn looking very good out there in 4th position, on course for his best finish of the season so far. Marino Sato on course for another of his best finishes of the season so far, which is to say this would be his 6th win from 10 starts so far this season. And you have to say, to come to the Hungaroring and start neither race from pole position yet win both of them would be a very impressive achievement for the Japanese driver at a circuit where passing is very difficult. Don't know what he's been doing with his starts, if he's just been practicing them an awful lot, but I would imagine that his Team Motorpark teammates will want to know exactly how he was able to get off the line so superbly, or indeed get away from the line at all, given how poorly Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda got going at the start of this race. We are now into the final lap of the race. Lucas Dunner is giving it everything he's got, using an awful lot of the runoff at the exit of turn 5, but it is to no avail at the moment. The leading trio has closed up a little bit as this final lap begins, just giving Nobuharu Matsushita a little sniff of the lead of the race. But we are running short of time, and we're running short of corners where any of them might be able to make a tilt at an overtaking move. It may just be Marino Sato backing off a little bit with the checkered flag almost in sight. He drives into the penultimate corner. It has been a superb weekend at the Hungaroring for Marino Sato, and it's going to be enhanced by the fact that his closest title rivals are for the most part well outside the points. He won in Spa twice. He won yesterday at the Hungaroring, and he wins again today. It is 4 in a row for Marino Sato at the Hungaroring. Fantastic performance this weekend by the Motorpark driver, seeing off the challenge from Nobuharu Matsushita, who takes the checkered flag in 2nd place after starting on the pole position. Lucas Dunner comes in a disappointed 3rd for the 2nd race, running right on the tail of the rival in front of him, just a second behind our race winner. That will have been a frustrating one for him. Nonetheless, he comes away with a pair of podium finishes. Christian Hahn registers his best result of 2019 so far with 4th place. So let's take a run down the order. Marino Sato winning ahead of Nobuharu Matsushita and Lucas Dunner. Christian Hahn with a season best 4th. And then Linus Lundqvist in 5th position ahead of Tepe Notori. Lundqvist 1st of the rookies home, so rookie honours go to him, followed by Tepe Notori and Jack Doohan. And then Callum Williams in 8th place. Nikolai Kiergaard chipped his way up into 9th. Liam Lawson a single point for 10th. A very disappointing race for him and for Yuki Tsunoda. Their title hopes taking a big hit on Sunday at the Hungaroring. Billy Munger squeezed out down to 12th position after starting last. Aldo Festante is 13th ahead of Cameron Dass. Rui Andrade 15th ahead of Javier Gonzalez. Julian Hanses ended his race in the barriers. So what a race of contrasting fortunes it was for the Motorpark drivers, and there is the situation. Marino Sato goes to the top of the drivers' point standings with 208 points, 81 ahead of Lucas Dunne. Liam Lawson 7 points back in third, and Yuki Tsunoda another 10 points behind. But one of those three drivers is going to have to put together a seriously impressive run of results if they're going to do anything about Marino Sato over the remaining 8 races of the championship. Linus Lundqvist is 5th in the standings then, ahead of... That was Nikolai Kiergaard. So Marino Sato cruises back in. What a fantastic weekend it has been for him. He cleaned up at Spa-Francorchamps. Super fast circuit, lots and lots of quick corners, long straights, plenty of opportunity for overtaking. He's come to the Hungaroring, not managed to take pole position for either of the races, but with a pair of absolutely perfect starts, moved himself into the lead immediately for both of them. And then perhaps, despite not necessarily having the race pace of the likes of Lucas Dunne, who did look quicker in both races, and certainly Nobuharu Matsushita in the second race, converting both of those excellent starts into victories. That is the stuff that World Championship success is made of, because it's not just about being quick and winning from pole position all the time. It's about what can you do when your car setup is not necessarily absolutely spot on. That was the case for him this weekend. He has certainly delivered pretty much the best possible result, certainly in terms of race position, scooping a maximum 25 points in both races. So Marino Sato climbs from the cockpit of his Dallara, set to celebrate another victory, his 6th from the 10 races so far this year. And that is going to be, I think, quite demoralizing for the drivers who were his title challengers earlier on in the season. There is Nobuharu Matsushita. It's a 1-2 for Japanese talent in the Euro Formula Open. We've got 4 Japanese drivers racing in the series this year. If you add in Matsushita this weekend, we also have Teppei Notori down in 6th position. And Yuki Tsunoda, an uncommonly low 11th for a driver who's won before. Let's take a look at our top 3 in this race.
Marino Sato, a usual face at this stage of the races. Again, victory. You must be happy.
Yeah, today failed a bit on qualifying, but we managed to improve what we suffered yesterday. So big credit goes to the team.
This is all very good for the championship. Now we are really extending the lead.
Yeah, just very happy about that. There's still 4 events to go, so.
How you see these 4 events?
Looking forward to it. There's a few tracks I really like it, so yeah, really looking forward to it.
Well done. All the best.
So Marino Sato has an 81-point championship lead. Race 2 and a somewhat haphazard start for the Euro Formula Open. Aldo Fastante well out of grid position. A poor getaway for Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda, and a superb start from Marino Sato. Winner on Saturday, immediately through into the lead, taking first place away from Nobuharu Matsushita. So it's Sato from Matsushita and Lucas Dunne as they accelerated out of turn 1 at the end of lap 1. But meanwhile, Liam Lawson had fallen well down, and Yuki Tsunoda was almost last. Aldo Fastante, after that slightly unusual start, got a little bit physical with Cameron Dass, the pair trying to exchange positions at the end of the lap. Jack Doohan got a little bit loose at the exit of the final corner and ran very wide. Javier Gonzalez got even looser at the exit of turn 4, lost part of his front wing and did very well not to tangle with Linus Lundqvist as he came back onto the track. But nonetheless, that ended what had been a great run in 5th position for Gonzalez up to that point. Sent him into the pits for a new front wing. we had a brief safety car interruption, following which Liam Lawson got onto the tail of Billy Munger and went superbly around the outside of the Carlin driver to claim the final point of the day. But it was a familiar look at the end of the race. Marino Sato on top once again, holding off Nobuharu Matsushita to the flag, and a very quick Lucas Dunner in third place. The Carlin team on hand to applaud Nobuharu Matsushita after that excellent run to second position. But the day once again belongs to Marino Sato in Euro Formula Open. Sato 81 points ahead then at the end of that race. 216 points still available over the remaining rounds. But of course, if he's going to continue finishing up in the solid points positions, that's going to make it very hard for any of his close rivals to get on terms. Whether it's going to be Lucas Dunner, who's been consistently quick and yet astonishingly somehow not managed to win a race so far this year. Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, both very competitive as well. But those disastrous starts from the pair of them, clearly something that needs urgent attention. Let's hear the race winner's national anthem. Marino Sato on the top step of the podium for the fourth race in a row. Nobuharu Matsushita having to settle for second place. I think he might have been hoping for a little bit more when he made his sojourn over to the Euro Formula Open. Of course, these drivers will be back in action in just 6 days' time. They'll be qualifying again for race 1 at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. Another very different circuit for these drivers, not that far away, but it's all long straights and sharp corners, and then a few quick turns towards the end of the lap. Of course, Formula 1 was there just a week ago. Euro Formula Open will move on for more action. Following the Red Bull Ring, we've got a fairly long gap until throughout August, until the championship resumes at Silverstone on the 7th and the 8th of September. We then move on to the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya on the 21st and the 22nd of September, and the championship will be settled on the 12th and 13th of October at Monza. Welcome onto the podium our top three drivers in the rookie standings. In the middle, Linus Lundqvist ahead of Tepe Notori to his right and Jack Doohan to his left. Those are our top three drivers who are newcomers to the championship at the Hungaroring. Bit of a different look to the top three on the podium. We've often seen Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda up amongst them this week in the championship so far. But this weekend, that poor start for Lawson and Tsunoda opening the door for some other drivers to claim top honours. And Linus Lundqvist, of course, Javier Gonzalez was the leading rookie for much of that race before Lundqvist pressured him into that mistake and moved up into the top spot. A big cheer goes up for Lundqvist on the top of the podium. Thank you very much for joining us for the Euro Formula Open from the Hungaroring. We'll be back in just 6 days' time for more action from the Red Bull Ring. Don't miss that one. Until then, from Elliot Wood and from myself, Keith Collentine, thank you very much for joining us. We will see you again soon.